And Bible says that this man, Caleb, that he wholly followed the Lord. And I think it's really the angle that I want to take this to start. And what does it mean to wholly follow the Lord? Well, I want you to think about if you're doing something, or if you're speaking with someone, or if you're interacting in anything in life, you find that the more space that is given is the more opportunity that a distractor can come between you and the person that you are speaking to or the item that you're interacting with. The Bible says that Caleb understood that the only way that he was going to have the success that he wanted out of life was to do something that others may not have had the courage to do, as he talks about it a little bit. He says that I wholly followed the Lord, meaning that I did not leave any space between myself and God. That as far as it concerned me, I connected myself to God, no matter how difficult the situation seemed. I did not move away from God, but rather I drew myself closer to God. Caleb was amongst those who were coming out of Egypt, coming out of a place of bondage, a place of captivity. There were some in the wilderness who were mourning and they were complaining about everything they saw. Some were saying, was there not enough graves back in Egypt that we find ourselves in this wilderness, that we will die in this wilderness? And Bible says about all the people who came out of Egypt, that only 2 actually made it into the promised land. And that was Caleb and Joshua. And they had their relation actually was very interesting, because of all the spies who went into the land that was to be spied out, it was Caleb and Joshua who came back, and they gave a good report to the people concerning the promises of God. And so Bible says that this man Caleb, he looked on the situation that his brothers looked on. And every man says it's impossible. It's difficult. It cannot be done. We cannot go into this land and do what we want to do and actually have what we want to have. Yes, the land is exactly what God said it would be. Can you imagine having a promise from God and you see that the promise is real, but yet saying that I cannot see how I will get there? It's kind of interesting. My wife and I, we were having a conversation the other day about things that happen in life, and oftentimes, why do people have regrets? Think about, why do we have regrets about things that happen in life? We can start off one way. I was using the example of someone, let's say, who desires to do a schooling, a trade, or anything that they want to do in life. But there's a time period. It says, there are many people who start, and unfortunately, because they drop out, when you see how difficult or how time consuming something may be, man, it's going to take me this much time. But here's the reality, that whether you stay engaged or drop out, the time will continue to move. And now that the time that you would have finished or completed your endeavor has come to, but yet you don't have the reward of it, there's a looking back and saying, man, I wish I would have stayed the course. I wish I would have paid the price, in other words. There are many people who want the benefits or the rewards that's at the end of the prize, but yet not willing themselves to pay the price. God said to Caleb, Joshua, and the congregation of Israel, the land that I'm taking you into, the land is filled with milk and honey. It's a prosperous land. It's a great land. But however, there's wars in the land and there's challenges in the land, but it's yours if you want it. And you know, when things like that are presented to many people, we often find ourselves focused so much on the negatives, on how much the opposition against us really is. And as a result of focusing only on the opposition, unfortunately, there are many who turn around and they give up. They become discouraged because they're afraid of what it will take to pay the price. There are many who thought to themselves, you know, they're giants and we're like grasshoppers before them. How can we think that we can go before people and have victory? But Caleb, this man of God, this man of faith, he turns to the people and he says, what we have is a competitive advantage. This advantage our enemies don't have. This advantage, those who compete against us, they don't have this advantage. And the advantage that we have that they don't have is that we have God on our side.
Amen. Come on now.
He says we have a competitive advantage, so don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. If God says that we will have and we will possess this land, then we will have and we will possess this land for the glory of God. If God says that you will succeed, this is the word of the Lord, then don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. Trust in the word of the Lord. He wholly followed the Lord. Can you imagine being in the minority? See, a lot of times when you're trying to do something that is great, you will find that you're not in the majority. You know, I always look around and every class, whether it's classes that I've taken and things that I've seen difficult in life, you find this, you may start with many people, but towards the end, unfortunately, it's just a selected few. Because the reality of it is that there were some who were only focused on what they could not do and how they could not succeed. And then there were others who were looking at it from another angle, that I can do this. Notice this, friends, that everything that you see around you that has been done at some point was impossible. When you think about the invention of the wheel, something as basic as the invention of the wheel, one could think that it seems like common sense for us today, but at some point in time, it was an impossible task. And so one must have the right mindset when you're entering into a situation that you're believing that, Lord, I'm trusting that at the end that I will have success, that I will have victory, that I must have something that is driving me as a child of God. And what drives me is that to God be the glory. If the Lord starts a good work in me, He is faithful to finish it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He's the author and the finisher of our faith. Amen. So if you have the faith to start it, God has the power. He has the authority to finish it for His glory in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And so the Word of God says that this man of God, he left no room for the enemy to come in. That he wholly followed the Lord. When others were trying to discourage him, when others were trying to get him on their side and say, you know, Caleb, why are you so optimistic? Why are you so believing? There is no way. Look at us and look at them. They're greater than us. But he continues, yeah, but we have a greater God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let's continue. In verse 10. And behold, the Lord hath kept me alive, he said, these 45 years, even since the Lord spake this word unto Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, lo, I am this day 85 years old. That's 85 years old. As yet I am strong this day, as I was the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, even so is my strength now for war, both to go out and to come in. Now therefore give me this mountain, whereof the Lord spake in that day, for thou heardest in that day how that the Anakims were there, and that the cities were great and fenced. If so be the Lord will be with me, then I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said. And Joshua blessed him and gave him unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, Hebron, for an inheritance. I want you to think about this and put it in perspective. Here is this man who he is given a word from God, and he doesn't allow the promise of that word to escape him. Can you imagine being in the wilderness, but yet being able to see to the other side, and day in and day out? What keeps a man motivated? That in the first year that he doesn't give up, God has given you a promise that you're going to possess this land, that it's a victory unto you even before you go forth to fight one day. But yet the word of God says that Caleb remained faithful and he remained steadfast, and he left no space for doubt. That's what it means to wholly follow the Lord. I'm not going to leave room for doubt. I'm not going to leave room to be discouraged. And that's why you have this gray-haired conqueror. Can you imagine being 85 years old, but yet he's saying that I'm as strong now as I was then. Why? Because what gave me the competitive advantage when I was just in my 40s continues to give me the competitive advantage now that I'm 85 years old, is that God was with me then and God is with me now. So I want what is mine. Can you imagine not being discouraged and to say, I want what is mine, he says. Give me what is mine. The Lord has promised to me. I've waited 45 years. But I am not discouraged. I'm in faith that God will fulfill his promise. I'm encouraged that God will be true to his word. Can you imagine being in this place and not breaking down because you see the possibility, but you've not possessed it for 45 years. But yet you remain encouraged, trusting that God is faithful to his word. As a child of God, we must believe that God is faithful to his word. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. God is faithful to what? His word. Heaven and earth will pass away, but I'll tell you, the word of God will remain true to the very end. We must understand that God is who he says that he is, and he will do what he promises to do in our lives. And Caleb had this understanding of God, that God, I want what you desire for my life. What my life is going to be, the testimony that it will become, has to do with who you are. So it doesn't matter who is against me. It doesn't matter what fashions against me. It will not prosper. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. For the Lord my God is with me. He is my strength. He is my shield, my exceeding great joy. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So Caleb remains steadfast, and he's encouraged by God. He's encouraged by the word of God. That I've been going through it, but every day I'm excited because I know that God is bringing it to fruition. Can you imagine being in a place of prayer And you can apply it to every area of your life. Whether you're praying for a spouse, or you're praying for your marriage, or you're praying for a child, or you're praying for a job. But every day waking up with excitement and saying, God, I believe that you will do it.